to speak this evening about a topic that each and every one of us is participating in right at this very moment. Action in America. Aging in America. We are.
And Bobby, this is for you. And you will follow along as we go. Everybody else has already been given their hand. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Welcome everyone this evening, our guests. And tonight's talk is Aging in America. One thing I discovered in preparing for this talk is that I do enjoy doing research. And it can be on various topics, whether it's financial information that pertains to my job specifically, or if it is research in order to maintain dialogue with my two sons that are both in college, whether it's topics such as capitalism or climate change. I find that doing research gives me an opportunity to learn, and I love to learn, and I love to share what I learn with others. But as difficult as it is to prove certain topics, one topic that is undeniable is what's happening in America today, and that's the aging of America. We do a marvelous job of keeping track of statistics here in the United States, and while past performance is no indication of future results, something that we say in the financial industry, who we are as a country today speaks volumes about what type of country we are going to have in the future. Our population last year grew at a modest 0.7%, bringing us to approximately 314 billion men, women, children, and aged. By comparison, Canada's population grew 1.1%. India's population grew 1.3%, almost twice the rate of the population growth here in the United States. But more important than just the fact of population growth, what I'm going to talk about this evening is how our population grew and where it grew. And while our overall birth rate was relatively flat, certain segments of our population grew and grew dramatically. How can that be, you may ask? If we have flat population, how can certain segments of our population grow? Is it because of immigration? Do we have large numbers of people of certain ages coming into this country? No, our legal immigration is really quite modest, only approximately 1 million people per year, all varying age groups. But what we're seeing in America is simply the fact that more and more people are just not dying.
I'm sorry.
Particularly those pesky older. Once upon a time in America, the older you were, the quicker you died. It just was the way it was. But something happened at the beginning of the 20th century, and that was medicine. What had been our number one cause of death, infectious disease, was almost wiped out in its entirety thanks to advances in modern medicine. That meant two things. Not only did we have more infants reaching adulthood, but we also saw more adults living to greater age. For instance, in 1900, only 42% of those born expected to see the age of 65. Fast forward to the year 2000, that number is 83% are expected to reach age 65. Dramatic, dramatic, dramatic. But what that also means is those same advances that are helping with infant mortality, they're helping those that are older live longer as well. In fact, over the past 30 years, we've seen the nation's 90 and over age population nearly triple to almost 2 million people.
She's going to turn on the red light now.
Green to red.
And over the next 4 decades, it's expected to quadruple. But the real impact is in the 65 and older demographic, where we're going to be seeing a doubling of this segment from 40 million to over 83 million people in that same time period. But it's not all bad news. Older does not necessarily mean less well. In fact, a recent study shows that for those elders able to perform daily tasks, that number decreased by 3.6%. The number of elders not able to perform daily tasks decreased by 3.6%. For those in the insurance industry, that's very important news. That means people are able to take care of the basic fundamental maintenance of themselves. And what that equates to is over 1.2 million more seniors not disabled, which is really great news. But before we start getting all warm and fuzzy about some of these numbers, that same study actually showed that those 65 and younger have actually seen an increase in disability, attributed primarily to causations such as increased asthma, diabetes, and obesity. As you look at the information that you have in front of you, you can see a couple of interesting charts. One is a graph that shows the moving segment of the aging population in America. You're going to see as things move from 1900 to 2050, you see kind of a swelling in this age group of the 40, 50, 60, 80-year-old. They call it the goat effect or the anaconda effect. And it's really quite interesting. Also, if you take a look at the next page and you see the map of America, you can literally see the grain of America. Here in north central Washington, we are higher than the national average of 13% population density of those 65 and over. We're about 17%, but not quite as population dense in that demographic as the typical retirement areas of, let's say, Arizona or Florida that are 23% or higher. What does this mean? Well, the implications for our population is significant and will have even more impact as we go forward. Just as we see the makeup of our population change, though, so do we see the population itself changing. And we're starting to notice some trends in aging America. That is something called active aging, where people are working further into retirement, where people are remaining more active either through work or recreation or volunteerism, and something that just a few decades ago was almost unthinkable in America, and that's multi-generational living. Something very common in other parts of the world, something starting to happen more and more here in the United States. What is it going to look like for us going forward? It's very, very difficult to tell. But there's one thing that we can count on. If you would all please do me a favor and hold up your packet of information. I'm just going to end with, go Seahawks.